Hi everyone, Nigel Saunders here. Looks like winter is back today. I'm heading out to the greenhouse. I have no idea what I'm going to be working on today, but I just want to work on something. So we'll have a look around the greenhouses and see what tree I can work on today. Okay, I'm in the greenhouse. The temperature in the greenhouse here was 2 degrees Celsius, 2 degrees above freezing this morning. And that's a little cool to be working out here in that temperature. So I turned the heat up to make this video, and then I'll turn it back down when I'm done. So it'll be a little warmer in here for just a little bit. I've slowly been working away at all my hardy trees, getting them pruned up, ready for spring. I'm getting towards the end of that phase. A lot of them are pruned up, but I still have a few that I haven't touched yet. So let's look around the greenhouse now and pick out today's victim. Let's begin in the corner over here. My Scots pine here is pruned up. I do need to clean up my royal oaks here. The leaves are all starting to fall off the trees, and it's getting hard to see the soil for watering. To tell if it needs watering or not, because it's all covered in leaves. So that's something I could clean up, but I don't think anyone wants to see a video on that. My juniper, I just want to let it grow for a while, get all kinds of vigor, get nice and bushy, and then I'll tackle the pruning on that again. That's my clip and grow $12 juniper. The cedar, it's been pruned, just needs to grow. My maple here, my large red maple, the major operation I want to do with that this year is to repot it. Work on the roots some more, get some fresh soil in there. The top, there's some deadwood on the top here that I could carve back, but that's not a priority. I want it to grow strongly for this next summer, and then maybe I'll tackle the pruning then. My apple tree's done, my silver maples are done. I have several small cryptomerias that I haven't touched yet, and this would be a nice little project, pruning those up. I have that one. I have a couple, well, more than a couple. I've got 3 over here. I think I've pruned this one. I've pruned already, but I've got a couple more. So those could be interesting, making, you know, either very small bonsai or styling them to grow larger. Yeah, kind of picking a style out for them and getting them going. The major thing on those is I want to get them into bonsai soil too in spring. Get them in a better pot, kind of get the roots going. Everything else here is being pruned up. It's all looking nice and trim. So there's just those little trees that I could work on. And down here, I think most of this is all pruned up. All my native trees, my cherry tree, my Thuja, my Douglas fir. The large forest, the cedar forest, they're all looking good. I'll come over here. We've got my northern forest. It's pruned up. Everything here is looking good. The box trees. I did the Douglas firs, the forest there. Yeah, everything's pruned up down here. Up top, I've got my elm here. I don't really think that needs much pruning. I think it needs repotting, root pruning this year. And not for health, just to sort them out and have another year of good growth on it. I've got a few birches here that could be pruned a bit, but that's not a priority right now. I've got my bird's nest spruce here. That will need some pruning, but I might tackle that. Everything else here is pretty well pruned up. I do have, I think this is my last big planting, and this is my elephant penging or diorama with the Thuja trees. And I like the idea of keeping the elephants, but I think these trees would be better to do kind of a Canadian type planting with them. and then replace these trees with the elephants with like acacias or something, a true African tree. So I think that's the goal for this forest in the future. Now, I haven't pruned these up. You can see they're quite long and bushy. So that could be a project for today also. Everything else, my buckthorns, I'm not going to prune them until spring. I want to see what buds come out, what's alive and what's dead, and then maybe prune off the dead wood on this one. And I think everything else is pruned up. So there's only, a handful of trees left in this glass greenhouse that need work. Let's head into the poly house now, see what needs work in there. Here in the poly house, I have my Cascade Thuja. The wild thing, it needs pruning, so that would be a good project to do. Ash is pruned up. I have a poplar here. I don't know what to do with it. I could prune it back hard and try and get taper in the trunk, or I could grow it as a larger tree. Yeah, I'm not sure what to do with that yet. I've got a couple of them in here, and a birch and some red maples. Those are all my sugar maples, seedlings. They're all doing fine. My native white pine, it's been pruned up. It's just ready to go. This is my whipcord cedar that Connor gave me. That could use a little bit of pinching and pruning, but nothing too major. My large buckthorn here, that again, I want to wait until spring to see what's alive and what's dead on it before I start pruning it up. No point pruning dead branches and pruning back to dead buds and that. So yeah, and that's all that's in here. There's not a lot of trees in the poly house. So definitely this wild thing would be a good project to prune up. My Pinus artificialis here, it doesn't need pruning yet. It hasn't grown enough that needs any pruning. I notice there's a broken branch here. It's too bad. We've got a bit of a snowstorm coming in today, so I don't know how bad it'll get, but it's definitely snowing today. So I've got to pick out a tree now. I think I'll work on the wild thing today, that Cascade Cedar. Haven't done a Cascade tree in a long time, and it definitely needs pruning. So I'll bring it from the poly house into the glass greenhouse here and begin today's work. I've got my Eastern White Cedar in the glass greenhouse here. This is the tree that I called the wild thing because I have a little bit of a different styling philosophy on this tree. I last pruned this tree up 1 year ago in January of 2022. And my philosophy I explained in the video was just to let the tree grow how it wants, but I'm just kind of shortening the branches and maybe doing a little bit of pruning. That's why it's called the wild thing, because basically the tree is going to grow how it wants. I'm not going to style it, picking branches and moving branches. It's, I guess, going to be almost a natural bonsai. The only thing kind of restricting it is it's growing in a pot rather than like on the side of a mountain or in nature. Since I last worked on this tree a year ago, there's been several things happen. One is you can see here how much the tree is bulking up. You can see how the bark is flaking off, and you can see the new red bark underneath. It's really, it's really growing, this tree. If we look at the other side of it, if we spin it around, you can see there's deadwood on the trunk, and the live veins are growing around it. You can see there's a strip of deadwood going along the top, and then the two live veins, or the one live vein underneath, is growing and getting quite thick. So I like that feature on it. It's really cool having that sort of natural deadwood along the top of the trunk. You can see it's grown in quite well over the summer. It's gotten quite long and bushy again. A lot of cool cascading branches. So this was the front last time I styled it from here, but you can see it's maybe not as exciting as the other side. Let's spin it around again. And you can see if this was the front, it shows the deadwood on the trunk here. And you can see, you know, it's more interesting, the trunk line. And it also kind of curves towards the viewer. So it's kind of like a, I don't know, if you put your head here, you kind of get a panoramic view of the tree. It's kind of cool that way. So I think this is a better front now. So I think today I'm going to work on the tree with this as the new front of the tree. Here's a look at the new front of the tree. Looks quite nice, I think, and very interesting, that trunk line. This rock I have on here, I don't need it on here. The tree is quite secure in the pot. It's not coming out or anything. I just left that on to kind of make sure it doesn't blow off the bench on a windy day. So I'll put it back just to kind of stabilize the tree. So this is another tree that could be repotted in spring. It hasn't been repotted in a while, so that's another one on the list for repotting. But today I'm going to work on this canopy, kind of pruning it back. Here's a look at, you know, some of these branches that come out. They subdivide here, here, and here, so I can prune them back, shortening them, making it a little more compact, and creating more, you know, a denser canopy. And that gives me tons of branches to choose from then if I do want to do a bit of styling in the future, or maybe it'll just be left to do its own thing. Most of the branches on this tree will get pruned back shorter, but I might leave some long if I want them to, you know, get long and cascade under their own weight. You can see there's a few cascading ones down here that kind of died from lack of sunlight. But again, I'm trying the natural approach on this tree, just to let nature do its own thing. Branches will reach out, find light, grow vertical, and yeah, it'll just be left to do its own thing. It'll style itself, I hope, over many, many years and create something quite interesting. All right, I'm going to begin the pruning now. Pruning back all these branches shorter to make the tree more compact and more miniature looking. So I'll start with this branch right here. I can take it back to here, trimming the end off the branch. Put that in the carnage pile. And I'll trim the sub branches coming off of it. Like that. Prune this one up here. So some of these places where there's multiple branches growing out from one spot, I'm just going to leave that, and then probably what will happen is one will take off and the others will die back or get shaded out or something. So for now, I'm going to let, you know, all these branches grow and let the tree decide what branches it wants to keep and what branches will get shaded out or it'll lose them. Yeah, so that's really pruned up now. It's looking quite nice. I finished the pruning on the wild thing. I'll show you how much I took off. Here is a look at all the foliage I took off. Quite a bit. You can see it's bronzy on top, the color of it. But then if you flip it over, it's a lighter green underneath. Interesting. Let me see if my other one's like that. You can see the bronzy color on top here. Underneath. Yeah, it's green. See that? You flip it over. Bronze on top, green underneath. Interesting. Never noticed that before. Yeah, so that's how much I took off. A fair amount, but not, too drastic. You can see there's no branch pruning. It's all just, foliage, tips of the foliage of the branches. So I left all the branches on it. I just pruned them back shorter. So let's have a look at the tree now. Here is a look at the tree. So it certainly has, I think, some nice flow lines to it. You can see they reach down and come up. It's almost like very ribbon-like or rhythmic, like one of those rhythmic gymnastics or something. It's it's got a nice look to it. It's all very, very natural because I haven't done any manipulation to the branches at all. I've just been letting it grow wild, letting it do its own thing, and just kind of pruning it back more compact. So I'm very happy with it. I think it's definitely maturing more. Yeah, I really like it. I think it's a cool little tree. Let's fly in now and we'll have a look at some of the details of the tree. So here you can see that swooping branch. It goes down and then climbs skyward again. I think that's a cool feature of this tree. There's the apex up here, just forming quite nicely. Got all kinds of cool, kind of compact branches, some to the back, some to this front. There's sort of a double layer swoop here. There's the lower one, and then there's another one here, and then there's even another one at the back. So I guess a triple layer swooping branch structure here, which is, I think, really cool. I'm sure all these lower branches might die off in the future and we'll just get the sort of vertical tips going up, but I think that'll look good also. We'll let it do its own thing. And the trunk is certainly getting more and more interesting every year. It's quite neat to look at. Like, it's fascinating to see what's going on. There's deadwood that goes right down to here. There's some kind of interesting intersection of branches there. Yeah, it's a fascinating tree. So I think the deadwood, there's a live strip on top here, deadwood each side, and then the live strip that goes around the bottom. So it's really kind of separated into ribbons. Awesome. Yeah, so that's the wild thing. It's still wild as ever. And I think a cool looking tree. I really enjoyed pruning back the wild thing today, revealing that ribbon-like branch structure. I think Mother Nature's done a good job with styling this tree. Maybe I contributed maybe 25%. So that's all for today on this cold, wintry afternoon. I'm Nigel Saunders. Thanks for joining me in the Bonsai Zone.